In a world that moves fast and is saturated with distractions, the idea of manifesting what you want might sound like a faraway dream. But what if I told you that in just 5 minutes a day, you could begin magnetizing anything you truly desire, whether it's more money, deeper love, or anything you want? In a world where time feels limited and attention is constantly divided, the idea that you can manifest your deepest desires in just 5 minutes a day may seem too simple, even naive. Yet that simplicity is exactly what gives this practice its power. Neville Goddard, one of the most influential teachers of metaphysical thought, often emphasized that imagination is the key to creation. He taught that the world you experience is a direct reflection of your internal assumptions, what you believe to be true about yourself, about others, and about life. This core philosophy is the foundation of the 5-minute daily practice we're about to dive into. You don't need expensive tools, mystical rituals, or even perfect conditions. All you need is your imagination, your focus, and your willingness to suspend disbelief long enough to embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This practice doesn't require hours of meditation or lifelong spiritual study. Instead, it asks for 5 concentrated minutes of living in the end, 5 intentional minutes where you imagine with feeling, where you saturate your consciousness with the reality of already having what you want. This is not wishful thinking. It is deliberate creation. The truth is, you're already imagining all day long, but if your inner conversations are filled with doubt, limitation, and fear, then those are the seeds you're planting. The 5-minute daily practice helps you reclaim your imagination and use it consciously. Neville would say, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's it. The practice begins with choosing one desire, just one. Not 5, not 10, not a wish list of 100 dreams, but one thing you deeply want. Maybe it's financial freedom. Maybe it's a loving relationship. Maybe it's a new career. Whatever it is, let it be clear. Clarity is power. Once you choose your desire, the next step is to construct a short scene, a moment that would naturally occur in your life if your desire had already been fulfilled. If your desire is to get married, don't imagine the wedding. Imagine a normal day, maybe having coffee with your spouse, laughing at the kitchen table. If your desire is financial freedom, don't imagine stacks of money. Imagine checking your bank account and feeling relaxed. The scene must be short, specific, and emotionally satisfying. Then comes the magic. Right before sleep, or first thing in the morning, when your conscious mind is quiet and your subconscious is more receptive, you enter a relaxed state. You close your eyes and begin to replay that scene. Over and over. Not with desperation, but with certainty. Not with longing, but with fulfillment. You feel the scene in your body. You hear the sounds, see the colors, sense the temperature in the room. Most importantly, you feel the emotion you would feel if the scene were real. Gratitude. Peace. Joy. This is what Neville called living in the end. And it's crucial that, during those 5 minutes, you don't think of the desire, but from the desire. You don't think about being wealthy, you think from the state of being wealthy. You don't think about being loved, you think from the experience of being deeply cherished. This distinction changes everything. The 5-minute daily practice is not a chore. It's not another task to add to your busy day. It's a sacred appointment with your future self. It's a moment of alignment, a return to the truth that your assumptions shape your reality. Neville would remind his students that the world is not happening to you, it's happening through you. And this practice allows you to steer that creative power deliberately. As you continue this process daily, something incredible begins to happen. The outside world starts to shift. People respond to you differently. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere. You begin to notice synchronicities, small signs that your inner world is being reflected outward. And as these signs accumulate, your faith deepens. You begin to understand, not just intellectually but experientially, that you are the operant power in your world. This is not about forcing or striving. It's about aligning. 5 minutes a day is enough to begin that alignment. And the beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require perfection. Some days your mind will wander. Some days you won't feel it as deeply. That's okay. What matters is consistency. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to effort, it responds to repetition and feeling. So even on days when you feel doubt creeping in, return to your scene. Re-enter the feeling. The more you do, the more natural it becomes. The 5-minute daily practice is like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You water it with belief, you nourish it with emotion, and you trust that the process is working, even when you can't yet see the results. Neville often told the story of imagining his honorably discharged papers when he was stuck in the army. Night after night, he saw himself at home with his family, even though logic said it was impossible. But within weeks, the very conditions he imagined unfolded, and he was released. That's the power of this practice. It defies logic because it works on a higher law, the law of assumption. And the law of assumption says that if you persist in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, the world must conform to that assumption. So, what do you want to create? What reality are you ready to assume as true? It starts now. Not someday. Not when the conditions are right. But now. And all it takes is 5 minutes a day. Just 5 minutes of pure, focused imagination infused with the feeling of your desire already fulfilled. If you can commit to that, even when nothing seems to be happening, even when doubt whispers in your ear, you'll begin to see proof. Your world will bend to your assumption, because it must. This is not magic. This is law. And once you understand it, you'll never look at reality the same way again. Now that you've begun to understand the power and simplicity behind the 5-minute daily practice inspired by Neville Goddard, let's go even deeper, not into complexity, but into clarity. Because sometimes, the greatest revelations are hidden in the most straightforward practices. Neville repeatedly taught that your imagination is God. Not a metaphor. Not a poetic phrase. He meant it literally, your own wonderful human imagination is the creator of your world. So the 5-minute practice is not just visualization or daydreaming. It's communion with the divine within you. It's the moment where you stop reacting to what's outside of you and start creating from within. When you do this, you break the hypnotic loop of cause and effect and step into the position of cause. You no longer live life as something that happens to you, you live as the one shaping life itself. And here's the beauty, you don't need anyone's permission to do this. You don't need external validation. The power is already in you. Right now. Always has been. All you need is the willingness to believe a little differently. To feel a little differently. To imagine with intent. The 5-minute practice works best when you do it consistently and without strain. People often make the mistake of trying too hard. They clench their minds, force feelings, and chase results. But that only creates resistance. Neville would advise, instead, to relax. To imagine gently. With ease. He would say that imagining creates reality, but imagining under pressure often recreates the very resistance we're trying to eliminate. So when you enter your 5-minute session, let it be a time of joy. Let it be a moment of inward playfulness. Smile internally as you replay your scene. Feel how good it feels. Make it your secret, sacred moment, 5 minutes where you live the life you want, not someday, but now. Imagine being who you want to be right now. This is where the shift happens. You may not see instant external changes, but something changes inside you, and that inner shift is the first sign that outer transformation is coming. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined with feeling. So when you consistently feed it a new experience, one where your desire is already fulfilled, it begins to accept it as fact. And once it accepts it, your life begins to mirror that new belief. This is the law. You don't need to beg, hustle, or push. You just need to persist. Neville said, a change of feeling is a change of destiny. And that's exactly what this 5-minute practice facilitates. It changes your feeling. It elevates your emotional state from lack to fulfillment, from fear to faith, from doubt to certainty. It takes you out of the problem and places you into the solution. It's the bridge between the life you're living and the life you want. And you are the only one who can walk across it. Some people might ask, what if I don't feel anything? That's okay. At first, it may feel unfamiliar. You might even feel like you're pretending. That's part of the process. Pretending is the gateway to becoming. Just like a child plays house, doctor, or astronaut, you must be willing to play with the feeling of your desire fulfilled, even if it feels foreign at first. The more you practice, the more real it becomes. And eventually, the feeling takes root. It becomes natural. And when it becomes natural, it becomes inevitable. The subconscious mind works with what is habitual. So repetition with feeling is the key. 5 minutes every day. That's all it takes. Some people will do this practice once or twice and say, it didn't work. But that's like watering a seed for 2 days and then digging it up to see if it sprouted. Faith means trusting the process even when there's no immediate evidence. And Neville was clear, the outer world lags behind the inner world. What you imagine now might show up days, weeks, or months later, but it will show up, if you persist without doubt. The moment you feel it real, you've created it. The rest is just time catching up to your new state of being. Let this truth set you free from anxiety. Let it remove the need to chase or force outcomes. Instead, allow the outcomes to be drawn to you, magnetized by the power of your focused imagination. That's what the 5-minute daily practice does. It makes you magnetic. Magnetic to love, abundance, creativity, clarity, whatever you truly desire. And because you begin to live in the end, you no longer act from desperation. You begin to act from wholeness. Your decisions, your energy, your expression all come from a place of being, not becoming. And this is why so many students of Neville find that not only do they manifest their desires, but they also transform into calmer, more confident versions of themselves. The process itself reshapes you. And as you shift, your world must shift with you.